Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. Day 3 is here. We're going to be traveling to the Lone Star State to talk about the 2023 defending World Series champion Texas Rangers. They finished third in the AL West with a record of 78 and 84. Definitely not where they wanted to be. However, there was a rash of injuries that did take them out and only allowed 3 of their guys to hit the 502 at-bat minimum threshold. Those 3 were Marcus Semien, Josh Smith, and Adolis Garcia. Before we get to the team leaders and you hear some names you might not be as familiar with, let's go ahead and talk about that list of injured players that did miss part of the year, whether it be for 10 games or whether it be for longer due to more serious injuries. The biggest name on this list is Corey Seager. The former Dodger did come over a few years ago and has absolutely made a name and a big splash here in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the hits, as Corey Seager did propel his team to the 2023 World Series. Another well-known name that missed time was Nate Lowe. Then we're going to get to some youngsters who did incur some injuries, missed time, and did not allow them to develop like they wanted to. Justin Foscue and Josh Jung both play infield, mainly third base. The star third baseman Jung missed a good portion of the season. He did not get to continue his development from 2023 into 24, and his brother Jace is nipping on his heels as a second baseman in the Tigers organization. Then you have star outfield rookies Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter. Evan Carter was dealing with lower back injuries and limited him to a very small portion of the game and didn't really get to do much other than copy his same statistics from 2023 when he did contribute major to the World Series. However, he's going to be looking to get back healthy this upcoming season. Wyatt Langford did also miss time with a hamstring injury, but he made the most of his time when he was on the field. Knowing that only 3 players hit the 502 at-bat threshold, there will be some team leaders that did not meet that, but still led the team, so we're going to go with that. Marcus Semien led the team in games played, at-bats, hits, and runs. Josh Smith led the team in doubles. Wyatt Langford led the team in triples. Adolis Garcia led the team in RBIs and strikeouts. Corey Seager led the team in batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, and home runs. Nate Lowe led the team in walks and on-base percentage. And finally, Leonardo Tavares led the team in stolen bases. Someone who did not make the most of their time on the field was Adolis Garcia. While he was one of the 3 individuals that had the 502 minimum threshold met, he did not perform as well as 2023. He absolutely came into 2024 looking like a monster after setting career highs in multiple categories, but he fell off the face of the earth. Hitting just .225, he hit career lows in at-bats, runs, hits, home runs, RBIs, and stolen bases. He's going to look to be back healthy for the Rangers this upcoming year. Everybody knew coming into 2024, Corey Seager was going to miss some time due to a sport turner. What people did not know was that Josh Jung was going to hurt his wrist early in the season and miss a good portion of the rest of the year. The Texas Rangers decided to promote from within, so they allowed Josh Smith to play third and or short on different days. He can play all over the field except for second base and does also have outfield eligibility. While he did most of his damage in the first half, he played himself to a Silver Slugger award as a utility man. He hit .258 with 13 home runs and 62 RBIs. It may be tougher for Smith to find playing time in 2025 as Seager is coming in healthy, Jung is coming in healthy, and they brought in Jake Berger to occupy first base. Now, Smith has been playing first in some spring training games, so if Berger wants to move to third, they want to give Jung some time off, potentially move Jock Peterson to the outfield, who's going to be the DH. Evan Carter may be platooning. That could be a way for Mr. Josh Smith to play first. If they want to give Jung a day off, he's going to play third. And if Corey Seager needs a DH day, he could play short as well. So there are some opportunities for Smith to play, but he's definitely not going to hit the 500 or 600 at-bat threshold like he did last year. We've already touched on the fact that injuries kept some players from playing time. However, a lower back injury that occurred in late May kept Evan Carter from playing a single inning of baseball after that particular game. It was very frustrating because he came into 2024 with such high hopes. He performed so well not only at the end of the season but in the playoffs for the Rangers, helping them win that World Series. Going into 2025, the Rangers hope that he could stay healthy. Now, we've already touched on the fact that Evan Carter was part of the injured list for the Rangers this past year. However, he did not play a single inning of baseball after a game in late May where he tweaked his lower back, and that kept him out for the rest of the season. He had such high hopes coming into 2024, and the Rangers were hoping he was going to have a carryover from 2023 as he performed so well down the stretch, and especially in the World Series. However, that did not come to fruition. They hope that he can span the outfield and stay healthy, though he may be platooning with Josh Smith or some other up-and-coming players. We are going to now move to Wyatt Langford. Langford only spent 44 games in the minors before the Rangers caught him up. They wanted to see what their first-round selection had, and he absolutely produced. A little bit of struggle at the beginning, but finished the season with 74 runs and RBIs, 16 home runs, 19 stolen bases, and hitting at a 250-plus clip. He is absolutely going to be a star for this Rangers team. They want him healthy, and they want him on the field as often as possible. We've already talked about some of the youngsters that are making waves and getting more playing time. However, there are a few, including Josh Smith, who may not get as much playing time due to poor performance or just too much competition. Leo Taveras may have led the team in stolen bases. However, in far fewer games, Wyatt Langford was just 3 behind it with 19. Taveras also dropped his batting average over 30 points, and hitting only 230 is not going to be enough to get you in the lineup with a crowded outfield. Ezekiel Duran probably had the best chance to take advantage of the injuries and absolutely fell flat on his face to the point where he was demoted because he was doing so poorly. This is really unfortunate because he has first, third, short, and outfield eligibility. He would have been a star in the making had he been able to recreate 2023 when he went 274, multiple stolen bases, double-digit home runs, making a name for himself, but he fell far short of what he was supposed to be doing with the opportunity given to him. Jonah Heim is another guy who starts off hot and then fades. In 2023, he racked up 95 RBIs, 15 more than the next closest, who happened to be Salvador Perez and Adley Rutschman, so definitely good company there. Heim is definitely more of an offensive-minded catcher, so in the offseason, the Rangers did bring in Kyle Higashioka, who is more of a defensive-minded catcher. It's pretty amazing that Heim ranks in the 2nd percentile for caught stealing, while Higashioka is up to the 25th percentile. Neither one ranks very high. Obviously, 25 is definitely not good, but it's better than 2. Also, Higashioka is better at framing as he's in the 95th percentile, opposed to Heim's 45th percentile. Neither catcher is really going to make a whole lot of noise behind the plate, but at the plate, I think both, mainly Heim, is going to make more noise and have more reliability to get some runs on the board. Because let's be real, he's not going to catch anyone stealing. As we move to the pitching side of things, there's going to be a lot of little factoids that I think are interesting that you might also find interesting. We're going to find out some players that had terrible luck, some guys that just did stuff that doesn't make sense. The team leaders are going to include 4 guys. First of all, Andrew Heaney. He played the most games, had the most losses, and gave up the most earned runs. Then we get to David Robertson, who led the team in holds, and Kirby Yates, who led the team in saves. Then we get to the final name, Nathan Eovaldi. Literally led the team in everything else. That's all you need to know. Nathan Eovaldi's just a do-it-all kind of guy, and is a former Yankee, so no wonder he's doing so well. However, his stats show just how head and shoulders far above he is in front of the rest of his starting pitching staff. He had 16 quality starts and 12 wins. Those were double as many as the next starting pitcher. The next starting pitcher only had 8 quality starts and 6 wins. Speaking of wins, Kirby Yates, the closer, had more wins, 7, than the next starting pitcher, who only had 6. Now, as we're talking about Kirby Yates, he had 33 saves on the season. David Robertson had 34 holds on the season. Now let's go back to Heaney, who had the most games started and the most losses on the team. He started 31 games and lost 14 games. However, he struck out the same number of batters that he allowed hits, 159. And probably the most unlucky stat of the entire night, Jose Urena. This guy has started 9 games for the Rangers in 2024. In those 9 games, he had 3 quality starts. In those 9 games, he had 8 losses. Now, to be fair, he appeared in 33 total games. So there are 24 other games where those losses could have come. Now we're going to circle back to Heaney and Eovaldi. They were the only 2 with more than 19 starts on the team. They were also the only 2 with more than 100 strikeouts on the team. There were 4 more pitchers that started between 13 and 19 games, and 9 more pitchers that started between 1 and 9 games. Speaking of 2 big-time players, let's go ahead and talk about the disappointments. Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. While you would expect them to lead your rotation, like an Eovaldi and like a Heaney with better numbers, they did the absolute least they possibly could do, probably because of injury, but mainly just because they're old. Between the 2 of them, they had 12 starts, totaling 54 total innings, with 21 earned runs given up, having 2 wins and 4 losses. deGrom is going to be coming back from Tommy John surgery and hoping to be at least the second man in the rotation behind Nathan Eovaldi, who has absolutely earned an ace position. And Mr. Scherzer is no longer with the team, At age 40, the Rangers didn't want to keep giving him chances to try to beat Father Time. Another player I was super excited about last year was Tyler Mahle. He was pitching in Minnesota coming off Tommy John surgery, wound up here in Texas, and again, I'm super excited for him, but he's just not the same guy. I really wish we could get back to the 2021 version of him where he had a sub-4 ERA and was doing pretty decent with the strikeouts. Nothing crazy, but he did rack up 13 wins. Now keep in mind that season he was in Cincinnati in a very hitter-friendly ballpark, so sub-4 ERA with 13 wins and decent strikeout numbers, that's not bad. Definitely had better stuff than what he was showing, so I'm hoping that he can get back to somewhere near that. He is going to be 30, so not quite over the hill, but he is going to be someone in the back end of that rotation who could be sneaky good and could be a late round draft pick for you. Just as you had two big pieces in the starting rotation, there were two big pieces in the bullpen, David Robertson and Kirby Yates. There was question as to who was going to be the closer, but that was very quickly shut down as Kirby Yates took over and never looked back. David Robertson, again, did have more holds than saves did Kirby have, but those two guys worked very well together, kept a decent ERA, kept a decent whip, and obviously produced enough to win up to 33 games and hold 34 games, as obviously that's how you pick up a hold if you get the win. I'm excited because while those guys are no longer with the Rangers, they have picked up a few guys who are not necessarily going to take their spots, but hope to fill those numbers in some capacity. Chris Martin has been a journeyman through the MLB and has been a setup guy, keeping a very respectable ERA and an even better whip. He does not have great strikeout potential, but does match with the number of innings he pitches, so at least one per inning. He is likely going to be the closer, but Robert Garcia is going to be able to come in high leverage situations and did have 74 strikeouts last year for a Nationals team where he appeared in 59 games. Now, Garcia also did have a 4+ ERA and like a 1.2 whip. So there's potential for some blow up, potential for some home run balls, but for the most part, Globe Life Park is not going to be too cruel to these two guys, so I do foresee them having some success, and if you're in a holds and or saves league, might want to look them up. As we transition to the additions to the team for 2025, we've already touched on a few of them. Really excited about Chris Martin and also Robert Garcia. Jake Berger is going to slot in well at first base. However, I would love to see him have just as many, if not more, walks than Nate Lowe had, because Nate Lowe's my boy. However, Jake Berger is not that patient at the plate, but he can put up more runs, more home runs, and more RBIs than Nate Lowe. Defensive-minded Higashioka is going to spell Jonah Heim at certain times, and Jock Peterson is making another trip around to a new team. He's going to be DH, but obviously can play outfield. He is absolutely going to be a masher for this Rangers team. He's going to be coming in hot, hoping to get them back to the World Series because he's got a few on his finger. I think this is going to be a decent team. I don't think they're going to hit the 500 mark again. I think if Adolis Garcia is able to get back to 2023 Adolis, one, it's going to be great for my fantasy team, but that's going to be even better for the actual Rangers because they have so much talent that is just unlocked potential. They're youngsters, Josh Smith, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, they're going to have to step up. Their playmakers, Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, and Adolis, are going to have to get back to their old numbers and make sure they show the youngsters, hey, this is how we get to the playoffs, and this is potentially how we get back to a World Series. With day 3 out of the way, we're moving from the heat to the rain, going to Seattle, talk about the Mariners. They have a great pitching staff and a great young star in Julio Rodriguez. I'm excited to talk about them and tell you more about how their talent is going to have to overcome some disappointment. This is Jay Cake, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.